Welcome to Pass the Outlet, episode 16. I'm your co-host, Michael Benjamin, joined as always by my wingman, Chris Patrick. Chris, how you living, man? How you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing great, feeling good. It is prime time for basketball season. The NFL season's winding down, just one more game left to go. And then after that, it's going to be all NBA, all college basketball. March is just around the corner. So I'm really excited.
It's time to do the damn thing, man. I feel like we haven't had a Pass the Outlet in a minute. We got a lot to talk about, especially in the news of the NBA. But before we start, hopefully you guys are tapped in with us on Instagram at AZ_BSP. We're doing it again, folks. We're giving away Suns tickets. And this time I talked to Chris. I said, Chris, we got to do it big this time, right? And we're giving away Suns versus Lakers tickets, people.
Oh,
Row
baby.
11, section 109. We sprinkled in a little parking pass for you as well, but we had an awesome showing last year with everybody, entering the contest, getting a lot of new followers and people who love the Valley getting tapped in with us. And that's what it's all about. We want to make sure we share the love to everybody. So Chris, man, do you think we picked the right game? Is this a good one to go with for the people this time?
Man, a division rival. You get to see LeBron James, hopefully Anthony Davis, and both teams right now jockeying for position to make the playoffs, be in the right seed for the playoffs. So I think we did. We try and do at least one of these giveaways each season, and I think it could only grow from here the more support we get. So tell your friends all about it and make this thing happen.
And Chris, let them know how they can enter this contest because they got to do it all, right? We're keeping tabs on if everybody's following along. So tell them what they got to do to make sure that they're entered for this giveaway.
Oh, absolutely. This is for the Valley Sports Plug family. So if you're here listening, you might have already done a few of these things, but we put you through it. We need you to subscribe to Valley Sports Plug on YouTube and direct message us a photo of you subscribed. Just screenshot right there on your phone, send it to us. You can crop it up however you want to do it. Make sure you like the post on Instagram and tag 3 friends in the comments. Then those 3 friends can enter and they can enter their friends, and it just gives everyone a better chance to get this pair of tickets. So you and a friend make a deal. If you win, you take me. If you win, I take you, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, 2 more things you got to do. You got to share the post on your story and tag AZ_VSP. And then make sure you follow us at AZ_VSP on Instagram, of course. It's very heavy through Instagram, but make sure you're there. Send your friends and your family there, and you can win a pair of Suns versus Lakers tickets. Man.
It's easy. I mean, especially if you entered last year, you probably already done most of the work for it. But man, we are just appreciative of everybody who's just along for the ride with us with Phoenix Suns basketball and for the love of the game, man. That's what it's about. So we wanted to give back. We appreciate all y'all. But we're just getting started, so we got to get the good stuff out of the way, I guess, for our sake. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here on YouTube. If you're watching this back or if you're listening on podcast services, make sure you drop a like and a follow for everything. Man, I can't say it enough. We're really excited to keep tapping in with Valley Sports with y'all. So with that being said, I think it's time to really start it off right. And Chris, we're at the midway point, a little bit past the midway point for the NBA season. Obviously, we know the All-Star game is coming up just in a couple of weeks, and we've seen the starters get announced. Sounds like reserves are going to go out tomorrow as well. So maybe we'll look into who we might be hoping for, at least from our end. But we got to start off with some mid-season awards, right? I mean, there's just been so many awesome, just really, really exciting moments to start this NBA season. I think the NBA is in one of the best spots that it's ever been, to be honest with you, Chris. And I think it's time to shed some light on some of those that have been shining above the rest. So we got a couple of them. We're going to talk about Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, Rookie of the Year, our MVP choices, and also our choices for a first team All NBA. But Chris, let's go ahead and start it off with probably the one that most people don't care about the most, which is Defensive Player of the Year. You know how it is, man. Some hoopers just don't want to do it on both sides. But I'll pass it over to you to start. And who you got your eye on and who you taking? How about that?
Okay, yeah, I think I can answer all those questions, man. It's interesting because you mentioned Defensive Player of the Year, and it's not the sexiest title. It's not MVP. It's not Sixth Man or Rookie of the Year, but very important, like you said, to play on that side of the ball. And I'm sitting here as we're starting to go into this topic and wondering what metrics do they use to even determine the Defensive Player of the Year. I think it's voted on, so everyone probably has their own set of criteria at who they're looking at. And Mike, you know me as well as VSP Tallman, we keep an eye on the betting markets. So that's where I went to for a lot of these awards. And so I got some odds and some stats for you. So who some of the front runners are. I guess I'll just start with who the books are thinking, and then I'll tell you kind of what I'm thinking. I see on FanDuel at minus 280, Rudy Gobert. He's averaging 12.5 rebounds, 9.1 of those are defensive rebounds, and 2.1 blocks. The Timberwolves are in first place in the West at 33-14, and he's having a big, playing a big role in that success. It's crazy. So that's minus 280 for Rudy Gobert. Mike, what do you think the odds would be about for the next closest player?
Ooh, it's got to be probably plus 500, right? I mean, and I haven't looked at the books, but that's kind of what I might be garnering if I'm thinking about it. Am I close?
You guessed better probably than I would. It's Chet Holmgren, and the FanDuel Sportsbook has him at plus 1,000.
Ooh,
So
okay.
you go from minus 280 to plus 1,000. So right now, Vegas thinks that Rudy Gobert is running away with this race. Chet Holmgren even being in the race as a rookie is kind of crazy. And then just to rattle off a few more on this list, at plus 1,400 is OG Anunoby, who moved from Toronto to New York and has been finding success there. At plus 1,900, Anthony Davis, and plus 2,900, Bam Adebayo. So it's interesting. The reigning the reigning player at this position and this award was Jaren Jackson Jr., correct?
That's
And
correct.
I didn't make enough notes to see where he's at on the list. I don't have it in front of me, but he's greater than plus 2,900 is all you need to know. So interesting to see as Memphis struggles, his stats might struggle as well. But then again, like I'm saying, so with Rudy Gobert versus Chet Holmgren, Rudy's the rebounds, defensive rebounds and the blocks, I think are probably what they're looking at. But Chet has more blocks, Wemby has more blocks, and all these guys are getting between 6 to 10 rebounds per game. Obviously, Gobert at 12.5 is quite a bit more. But yeah, Mike, I think I don't understand the Rudy Gobert thing quite as much as maybe I probably should. But as far as looking at this list, I like him or Anthony Davis. Both you have pictured in the graphic here. But what about you?
And I'm going to let the people know what my choice is of every category. Don't you worry about it. But Chris named some good people on the list that we got to make sure we give some honorable mentions to. First one to start, OG Anunoby. Like you said, the trade to the New York Knicks has been just a breath of fresh air for both parties. I would say for RJ Barrett as well. But I mean, the Knicks have exploded ever since he's come in. And he's a stellar defensive guy. We know this. 1.8 steals per game, 1.1 blocks. Another maybe one that's not on the list that you said, but Jared Allen, man, he's been solid, leading the Cavs to top 3 defense this year, primarily without Evan Mobley, who's only played 22 games as well. And yes, we do have to say Anthony Davis. He's only missed 3 games this year, right? We're not used to that, but 8.9 defensive rebounds a game, just monster on the block, and 2.3 blocks. But like you said, yeah, right now I think it's between the two, Chet Holmgren and Rudy Gobert, just because both of those teams are really at the upper echelon when it comes to the Western Conference. I think Minnesota is technically in first, but the other day it was a 3-way tie between them, the Thunder, and the Nuggets, all for the top spot. And I know Chet Holmgren is averaging more blocks, 2.6 comparative to 2.1 blocks for Rudy Gobert. But Chris, I think I still have to give it to Rudy Gobert. He's had some incredible seasons stat-wise, but like you said, the 9.1 defensive rebounds, that's what we're looking for when it comes to defensive player. Are you shutting down those second chance opportunities and those 2+ blocks a game? The way that the Timberwolves are built, They basically are like, teams are scared to attack inside because of Rudy Gobert, and it's led them to the number one defense in the league so far. So that's, I think, where those metrics are really coming from. So my choice is going to be Rudy Gobert right now.
Not a bad bet. Minus 280. I mean, you got to invest a little, but what is that? For every dollar you bet, or no, for every $2.8 you bet, you get $1 back. So $2.80. I don't know why I can't talk. But yeah, Mike, Rudy Gobert seems to be the consensus there, and not a bad pick at all.
I mean, not the biggest chunk of change coming back to your pocket, but it is extra money. So I would take it at the end of the day. All right, Rudy Gobert, not too bad. Let's go on to the next one. We got to go to the youngins of the group, the rookie of the year. Obviously, we got the three main guys on the graphic right here with Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, and Brandon Miller of the Charlotte Hornets. Chris, who's been catching your eye so far this year?
Man, if I'm going to be honest, it's hard not to notice Victor Wembanyama and everything he's doing in San Antonio. I mean, 20.6 points per game on 46% field goal shooting, 10.1 rebounds and 3.1 blocks, leading the league, I believe. Now, I do give him a little bit of a grain of salt there, if you will, because the Spurs are 15th in the West. That means they're in last place in the West. Their record at 10-37. And the only other guy, like I said, there's a two-person race. It's Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. And Chet Holmgren, man, not doing too much worse. He's 16.7 points per game on 53% field goal shooting, 7.5 rebounds, and 2.6 blocks. So stats-wise, right behind Wemby, but the Thunder are leaps and bounds ahead of San Antonio. So I think that could speak to Chet's scoring impact there, as when you got to defer to guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and others on that team who also get points. But Chet Holmgren getting it done at 53%, that's what, 4, 5, 7% better than Wemby is shooting. So you put Chet on that San Antonio team, and I bet he's going to be getting some pretty decent numbers as well. It is interesting, though, because Chet got drafted the year before Wemby, but obviously because the rules the way they are, he got injured, didn't play at all last season. And so now this is technically his rookie season. Not the first time we've seen this, but I will also mention, Mike, it's interesting that when these two teams met last week, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, OKC won that match 140-114. Chet had 17 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and Wemby had 24 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. So even in that head-to-head, Wemby had the more impressive stats. So I guess it's really up to the deciding bodies what they value more, the impact to the team overall with the stats or just the stats, because I'd say Chet's having a pretty big impact in Oklahoma City.
Man, and that's the key, Chris. I think that's where it gets hard for people to really break down these individual awards, right? Because if you really look at Wembanyama, he's leading the team in all major categories right now, other than assists, right? 20.6 points, 10.1 rebounds, 3.1 blocks. I mean, he's leading the league in blocks, but his efficiency isn't where Chet is, right? Wemby's only shooting 46.5% from the field, and he's under 30% from three, which wasn't going to be the biggest part of his game, but we knew it was something that he had. But it's the two-man race. I know. We know. I'm going with Wembanyama at the end of the day. I do want to give some love to some other new guys in the league. Got to start in Miami with Jaime Jaquez Jr. Might have said that wrong, but I don't care. I mean, he was the backbone for that UCLA club for a number of years. He's a guy who, I think he was a senior. Every couple of years, those kind of guys come out and you just think to yourself, yeah, you know what? He's going to be able to step in and be a contributor right away and be a good player for a unit. And it's showing with the Miami Heat, who have been struggling of recent, right? They lost to the Suns the other day and dropped their 7th in a row. But 13.5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.1 steals per game in about 30 minutes. He's 4th on the team in scoring. He's doing what he needs to for that Miami club. Other guy, Derek Lively from Dallas. Chris, I don't love to shout out Dallas guys, but we recognize real at the end of the day, right? I mean, he has been a solid big man for them. He started 35 games, averaged just under 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 1.4 blocks, shooting 74% from the field in just 26 minutes. He's been a great change of pace for them because we know Luka still has to do it all for them. And then Brandon Miller, has he lived up to the hype so far? I don't think so, but Charlotte is still in that rebuild mode. They're a ways away, right? 15.1 points, 4 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. Not much on the defensive end when it comes to stats, but Charlotte has been struggling for that. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm going with Wembanyama. Chris, who are you going with?
I think it's hard to disagree with that. I think it's got to be Wembanyama. Just the numbers he's putting up, the highlights he's getting. We expected him to get the attention coming in as the highly touted, draft prospect of the last 20 years, maybe potentially. I haven't seen teams swoon over a player this much since maybe Zion, but obviously we saw how that worked out. Different stories, not gonna go there, but it's funny, Mike. You mentioned we decided on Jaime Jaquez Jr., the Heat guard. I love talking about the betting odds and the stats, obviously, and he is right now on FanDuel at plus 30,000 to win Rookie of the Year. Much closer race between the other two. Chet Holmgren plus 200, Wembanyama minus 270. So I guess we're in lockstep there with the sports books as far as who our favorite is at this point. Right about the midway point of the season. And you are muted, Mike. You are muted.
I'm trying to share my screen. I couldn't unmute, but I was saying, so what you're saying is you can't put your money on Jaime Jaquez if you want to keep it in your pocket at the end of the day. But that's all right.
Yeah, maybe put $1 on it if you're just wanting to have fun. I think that'll win you $300. I think that'll win you $300.
Hey,
$1 to win 300. Pretty good odds.
Like Tomlin would say, if you're feeling frisky and risky, throw it on there. All right. Next one, we got most improved. Man, there's been a couple of different guys who have really stepped their games up this year. Obviously, the 3 that are shown on the graphic with Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey, and Al Shingun. But I got a couple of other ones, but I want to pass it over to you first, Chris. Who's caught your eye in this category so far this year?
I mean, those guys in the graphic are undisputable. Tyrese Maxey has increased his production over last year. Last year in 2023, averaged 20.3 points a game, 3.5 assists. This year's bumped that up to 25.7 points per game with 6.6 assists. So practically doubling his assist numbers and adding nearly 6 more points per game. Pretty impressive what he's able to do there alongside Joel Embiid, of course. And Sengun, you mentioned him as well, right up there. Those are the top 2 leaders as far as I've been hearing. He's at 14.8 points per game and 9 rebounds last season in 2023, and this year up to 21.9 points per game and 9.2 rebounds. So I do really like Maxey for this award right now. And all the betting odds and favorites aside, I really think Grayson Allen has greatly improved his game. He's one of the best shooters in the league right now. I think leading the league in 3-point shooting percentage. So what he's been able to do in filling in that role has been very impressive. And I honestly think he should be under consideration for most improved. But obviously there's a lot of other guys that have improved more on paper than you can always see in the stat sheet. But what do you think, Mike? You're muted again.
I was going to say, I feel like Tyrese Halliburton, yeah, he might be categorized for most improved, but he really started to jump on the map as soon as he went to the Indiana Pacers last year. So his stats have improved, but we have kind of known that he is an upper echelon player at this point, right? I mean, I love what you say with Tyrese Maxey, man. You think about it, in year 4, all he's done in the scoring production has bumped up every year. His first year, he averaged 8, then 17.5, then 20.3, and 25.7. Like you said, a lot of that obviously right now has come with the departure of James Harden. But I mean, 6.6 assists as well, running the show from a point guard position. He's been stellar for that Philadelphia team, who I believe is in 3rd in the East. So, or they're knocking on 3rd. My apologies. But Al Shingun, I like him. They're on the outside looking in right now in the West, though, right? They're in 11th. He leads the team with 21.9 points, 9.2 rebounds, also averaging 5.1 assists and 1.2 steals. I mean, plus 7 points to the average. Really liked what the big man has done. My other honorable mention, I'll say, is Scotty Barnes. Now that Pascal Siakam has left, he's taken a step up I mean, before Pascal left, but this season he's really expanded his game as well. 20.3 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 5.7 assists. And he's a defensive monster. 1.3 steals and 1.5 blocks per game. But Chris, I don't know if my pick is going to come out of left field for you, but my pick for most improved so far at the midway point is Kobe White of the Chicago Bulls. He's third on the team with 18.8 points per game, which is up from 9.7 from last year. 4.7 rebounds, 5 assists. His field goal percentage and three-pointer are up. He started every game in year 5. I know a lot of people were wondering about him really getting that contract extension, but obviously everything that's happened with Lonzo Ball and still not really knowing, everything's still up in the air with when he'll be able to be back. And now it's been how many years? 2.5 since? He has really taken advantage of the opportunity. And he's a great change of pace for guys like Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan, and he adds that speed and can finish at the basket. So I'm going with Kobe White, Chris. But who are you going with?
Ooh, Kobe White, that's so love, bro. Remember, former teammate of Mikal Bridges in college. Yeah, man, that's a great one. Kobe White could definitely be a dark horse to win this over those other two I mentioned being at the top, Maxey and Sengun. I think, though, I think I might be crazy, but I think Tyrese Maxey is going to have a really good chance to take this. Joel Embiid is out again, injured. He's been in and out of the lineup over the past month or so, dealing with some nagging injuries. And I feel like the more time he's out, the more time Tyrese Maxey is going to have to step up and take on more of the scoring burden for the 76ers, as well as being able to get those assists when Embiid's on the court and even when he's not. So for my money, I'm going with Tyrese Maxey. I know that's picking the favorite or, whatever, but I think he's the favorite for a reason, obviously.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Tyrese Maxey has been stellar for the Philadelphia 76ers for about 3 seasons now. So love to see those guys get the proper love that they deserve at the end of the day. But now, Chris, we're going into the big kahunas. We're going to go on to the MVP and the race that's going on right now. Is it a 2-man, 3-man, 4-man? I mean, there's just a lot of stellar guys who can fill it up on a nightly basis. They're shown on the graphic right here. We got Jason Tatum, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and of course, Mr. 70-point Joel Embiid. Unfortunately, now we have to add Mr. 73-point Luka Doncic into that list, but we'll leave him over there. But Chris, how are you feeling about this group so far, and who are you leaning towards?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think MVP right now is probably the tightest race of all of them. It's really going to depend on player health, I think, more than anything, because of those guys you have in the graphic, they all seem to be able to do it night in and night out. Jason Tatum, it's been a tough year for the Celtics. Obviously, they're still real up high in the East, but they've lost a lot of games that they really shouldn't have even had to worry about. Nikola Jokic, his impact in Denver is, I mean, we saw it firsthand with when we met them in the playoffs. He's a walking triple-double. Any night he walks on the court, he can put you in the position to win with his performance, whether it's scoring the basket, getting the rebound, or dishing out the assist. So honestly, I mean, I could stop right there. I think for my money, just to get it out of the way, is Jokic. Honestly, I know he's already won it twice. They gave it to Embiid last year because you're not allowed to win it 3 years in a row, as Mike said on our recap recently. But man, it's pretty close. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, everything he's been doing for Oklahoma City has been absolutely incredible. That team being on top of the West again with no KD, no Russell Westbrook, no James Harden. It's the changing of a guard, the new generation of NBA superstars coming up, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is definitely one of those guys. But also Joel Embiid, I think, like I said, though, his health could be a concern. We can talk about Tyrese Halliburton and his gripe with the 65 games rule for winning an NBA award. If Embiid finds himself out of the lineup for an extended period of time with an injury, he might not even be in contention just based off that rule. But Mike, before I pick your brain on what you're thinking for MVP, I also have to mention, of course, like I keep mentioning, the betting odds. Our hometown boy, Devin Booker on FanDuel Sportsbook is at plus 2,000. I'm sorry, plus 21,000.
Oh,
It was such a big number I couldn't pronounce it. Plus 21,000. So, but he's a candidate. He's on there. You can bet for him. So I guess that means he's in the running, right? But Mike, what do you think?
ooh, I mean, maybe that could be one if he has a stellar second half that you could sprinkle some little extra dough on. I wouldn't hate doing that. I mean, yeah, Chris, the Joker's always going to be in contention just from the game-changing ability he has in every aspect of the game, man. Like, his numbers aren't where they have been in seasons past, but like you said, he's almost averaging a triple-double again. 26.3 points, 12.1 rebounds, and 9 assists on 58% shooting from the floor. 36% from three as well. For a 7-footer to shoot 36%, I'd say you're doing something right. Jason Tatum is at the bottom of my list. I know, like you said, the Celtics are first in the East. They are 22-2 at home, which is crazy, but that team is built out pretty well, and they work together pretty good, which is why they're at the top. Yeah, I guess I'll give another honorable mention to Giannis. I mean, they just had their coach get fired, but they're second in the East. And he's been a monster this year again. 31 points, 11.7 rebounds, 6.2 assists from Giannis, as well as the defensive stats, 1.3 steals and 1.1 blocks. But Chris, for me, it comes down to the two guys that you can see on the screen. It comes down to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Joel Embiid. Right now, man, it's hard to go against Joel just with the impact that he's having from a scoring standpoint. I mean, leading the league, obviously, with 36 points, but 11.4 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1.1 steals, and 1.8 blocks. So he's doing it on both sides. But like you said, he's already missed 12 games, and the threshold is 65 games to be played. Like, he might not make it. So if that's the case, I got to go with SGA, man. I mean, this was a trajectory we kind of saw after their playoff performance last year, but 31.3 points, 5.6 rebounds, 6.4 assists, and 2.2 steals, leading the league in steals, man. One game back from first, like we said as well. That's where I'm at right now in the MVP race. And you know me, if I had a vote, I'm going with SGA no matter what. I don't even care if it's really Joel, because that man was a fantasy darling for me for years and years, Chris. You already know this.
Oh yeah, you got to reap the spoils of his performances, and you bring up a good point there with Jokic already missing that much time. What is that math on 65 to 82? 17 games you can miss?
Yeah, for Joel Embiid, yeah. So Joel's missed 12. So
He's missed 12.
He can only miss 5 more games.
5 more, yeah. I don't know about that then. He might be on the outside looking in. Jokic missed some time though, hasn't he?
I'm not too sure. I don't think he's missed as much time, obviously.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I know Jamal Murray was in and out again, but regardless, I think that's got to be, coming down to being a 2 or 3 person race between those guys we mentioned. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, not a bad pick at all when he's putting up numbers like that in the scoring column. It's just hard to go against Jokic, but it could be that bias of he's already won it twice. Let's get a guard in here. It's been a big international guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally understand that. So the last one we wanted to have a little bit of fun with this one. I want to know who your 5 guys would be if you were to choose a first team all NBA right now. We got everybody from old all-star games. You can see on the screen, Devin Booker in that old Kobe Bryant GG tribute jacket. Got KD hoisting one of his first all-star game MVPs. Brad Beal in the blue with the cornrows. Man, that was a long time ago. And then obviously the captains, LeBron and Giannis. But who you got for first team all NBA so far, Chris?
Oof, how could it not be mostly those guys we mentioned talking about MVP? And it's funny how close those coincide with each other. So right off the bat, obviously, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got to be at the top of that list. Joel Embiid, if the season ended today, he would be in my all NBA first team. So then that just leaves 2 other slots. Who do you put in there? And it's hard not to be biased and want to pick one of our hometown guys in Booker or Kevin Durant. But when you really look at the stats and the numbers that are being put up and the impact that they have for their team, I think another guard that needs to be on this first NBA All Team for me at this point in the season is Luka Doncic. Man, as a Suns fan, it's hard, right? Because we don't like that guy very much, and it's kind of simmered down a little bit. I think this is a whole different team than the one that swept us, or the one that got swept out of the playoffs, or not swept, I'm sorry, but bumped out of the playoffs by the Dallas Mavericks. And so that bad blood might not really be there. I know people want to make a big deal about Booker and Luka Doncic, but they have more of a competitive rivalry than I think a personal one. I don't think either of them hates the other. And you're starting to see that a little bit as they kind of laugh it off and just play their game, and they both play hard. So I respect that. So Luka Doncic is the fourth, and then fifth is kind of up in the air a little bit for me. I like what Giannis is doing. I don't love his game, honestly. I don't. But when you look at the stats and you're being objective, the Milwaukee Bucks are not the same team when Giannis isn't playing. Another guy I think might earn an honorable mention, Anthony Davis. It's crazy that you said he only missed 3 games this season. That just doesn't seem right. I wanted to double check that. Having Anthony Davis be healthy for the majority of a season is just so foreign. And I mean, good for him, right? I guess the Lakers aren't world beaters at this point. LeBron is, I don't know. Some nights he's not showing his age. Sometimes he kind of is. But yeah, I think for me, it's got to be, if I had to narrow it down, Jokic, Gilgeous-Alexander, Doncic, Giannis, and Joel Embiid.
Yeah, that's a great list. Can't go wrong. Not going to give you any shade for that at all. So when I built this list, I built it out from the 5 positions, right? So unfortunately, I couldn't go Jokic and Joel Embiid in the same way. This is just from my perspective, right? So obviously, center, I went with Joel. The front court, I had to go with Luka, man. I mean, he leads his team in every category, Chris. 34.7 points, 8.6 rebounds, 9.6 assists, 1.4 steals. I mean, Kyrie has missed 13 more games than him this year. And he just has had to do it by himself once again, because the Dallas Mavericks don't know how to properly build out their roster for some reason around such a superstar like that. But that's fine. That's good for us at the end of the day, right? SGA, obviously. You know, I say that he's second on my MVP account. There's no way I can leave him off this first NBA All-Team. Whatever. Totally said that wrong, but I don't give a shite. And then Jason Tatum. Yeah, I put him there at the 3. And then I went homer, Chris. I put Kevin Durant at the 4 because he's really helped keep this team afloat to start this season. And the numbers just back it up. It's not where Giannis is, right? I totally understand that, but 29.3 points, 6.4 rebounds, 5.7 assists, and 1.3 blocks. Kevin Durant's been doing it on both ends for us. He's been playing heavy minutes. I had to show him love, so he's on my list for the first team All-NBA, Chris. What do you think?
Not bad. Not bad. I like that you broke it down by position. That probably would have been smarter. I think I was thinking kind of broadly of like, Luka guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander guard. I guess when you put Embiid and Jokic, they're both centers when it comes down to it. But your list, man, that's pretty solid. Kevin Durant, it's interesting that he's not mentioned more in lists, because what he's been doing, being the most consistent player on the Suns team as far as being available and his performance night in and night out, sometimes he's only going to have 13, 14, 15 points, but those are the nights where Devin Booker's putting up 40, 50 points versus other nights when KD's the one scoring 40 points and Devin Booker only has 15, 16. That's the beautiful part of the Suns, man. But overall, Mike, that's a solid list. It's hard to disagree with that.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And for the people listening back or watching back, let us know. Drop a comment. Did we get anything wrong? Did we miss anybody? Any honorable mentions we missed? I'll give honorable mention to Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, that guy's been playing out of his mind this year as well and is a blossoming superstar in this league. But make sure you guys stay tapped in and keep letting us know what you think. So I think it's time to move on, Chris. Obviously, we handed out the hardware. We're past the midseason point. And the midseason point, what comes along with it? The NBA All-Star Game. And this year, the All-Star Weekend, it's the 73rd NBA All-Star game already, Chris. Crazy how time flies. But it's in Indianapolis, Indiana this year from February 16th to 18th. Chris, I'll just ask you this, man. Are you ready for the All-Star weekend to come back to Phoenix? Because it seems like it's been forever, man.
Yeah, it really has. And you'd think with the renovations they made at the stadium recently, like that could be an enticing factor. I'd love to have All-Star Weekend back here. It's crazy that this is 2 weeks away, and I guess we're right at about the halfway season, because the All-Star break is even a little after the halfway mark technically. So I'm excited. You know, it's a great time to get a little rest, have an extra long fantasy basketball 2 weeks, get some points back up on the board, have a fighting chance. But no, I love the skills day, like the day before the slam dunk contest and the other stuff. Or no, that's part of it, I think. But either way, what do we have the calendar here? It's the celebrity game. I don't really watch the celebrity game. The crossover.
Yeah, so I got the list for you, man. Obviously, everything starts on Friday. You got the Ruffles NBA Celebrity All-Star Game. Then we have the Rising Stars game, which has transitioned into kind of like the little tournament, right? They have 3 7-player teams, all NBA guys. And then they have a 4th team, which is created of just G League guys. And then, you know, semifinal tournament, those games, the target score is 40 points and the finals is 25 points. But Saturday, I still think is the best day, right? Even though some people, you know, over the years have been falling asleep with the slam dunk competition, but it seems like, I don't know, every 3 to 4 years, there's one where everybody's like, they brought it back. You know, last time it was Mac McClung. The times before, the Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, you know, just dunk offs, which were crazy. But
Yeah.
Saturday, they got the skills challenge, the 3-point contest. And then they're throwing in a new wrinkle. They're doing Steph versus Sabrina Ionesco. Ionesco? I might have said that wrong too, but they're going to do a 3-point competition. Did you see that? They're going to go head to head?
Yeah, I was seeing that today. That's interesting. And that's an All-Star Weekend event, like official, like part of the NBA
Yes, sir.
festivities. Damn, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Sabrina last year at the 2023 WNBA All-Star Game, she set a record for both NBA and WNBA with 37 points in the final round. She just caught fire. It was ridiculous. But then we got the game on Sunday, February 18th, East versus West. It's back to that split, right? No more captains choosing teams. It's East versus West. And we have the starters that were announced already. Obviously, for the captains, they are Giannis for the East and LeBron for the West. The East squad is made out of a lot of familiar faces at this point, right? You got Giannis, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, but you got Tyrese Halliburton, who much deserved, man, for the way that he's got this Indiana Pacers team humming this year. Unfortunately, the injury bug has caught him over the past couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll see him out there during that game. But then for the West, you got LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, SGA. I think he's been an all-star before, but he gets a nod for the starter. And then Kevin Durant. So are you surprised at any of this, Chris? I mean, it's just a list of guys we kind of know at this point, right?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not surprised really by any of those selections. I just do think it's funny that Damian Lillard is now an East All-Star instead of a West All-Star, and props to him. He's about to make his return to Portland, I think either tonight or tomorrow, not 100% sure. But yeah, this is set to be just your pretty typical All-Star weekend, what we've seen in the last couple years. Did I see that Mac McClung is also doing the slam dunk contest again this year?
I don't think they've announced those guys yet. Like they
Okay.
haven't done the skill challenge or the 3-point contest or the slam dunk. They have announced the Rising Stars squads. They haven't been split up yet, right?
Mhm.
But I got something here. They got rookies and sophomores, and then the squad or the group from the G League. And Mac McClung is on that group, right? Because he's playing for the Magic's affiliate. But a nice group of young players, man. If you think about it, like Paolo first overall pick, has started to really expand his game. Walker Kessler has had some injury issues to start, but Benedict Mathurin, a nice product out of University of Arizona. Keegan Murray has been helping the Kings move along as well. Jalen Williams, man, stud for the Thunder. And then some of those guys that we talked about from the rookie squad, obviously, with Victor, Jaime Jaquez, and Derek Lively. But this is really all that's been announced so far. And I think it's just going to be a couple of days before we start to find out who's going to fill out everything else, just like the reserves for the All-Star game.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who they get to do these. I mean, the slam dunk contest, it seems like they've been adding more people that are just known to be dunkers, and it sucks that LeBron never did it. I wouldn't want to see him do it now at 38 years old. No. And that's probably a conversation for a round table or another day. But I mean, Kobe did it, Mike did it. LeBron, why didn't you do it? I'm pretty sure I brought that up before, maybe last year when we were doing Pass the Outlet talking about the All-Star game. But yeah, 3-point contest shooting wise, I want to see Grayson Allen in that contest.
He's got to be, man. He's first in the league, 100%.
How could he not be? There. How it would be honestly robbery if they don't. But I'm excited. I always like that weekend and those events, and it's fun. And yeah, let's do it.
I actually hope they have both Grayson Allen and KD in the 3-point contest.
There you go.
KD's fourth in the league from 3-point percentage. So let's see a little Suns versus Suns action, man. I'm all about that. All right, well, we'll be keeping tabs on the All-Star weekend coming up. Obviously, reserves are announced tomorrow, so we're going to be really, really seeing what's going to happen with that. Is Devin Booker going to get the nod? Is it going to be De'Aaron Fox? There's always some guys that don't make the list that are deserving, but we're going to stay tuned with that. But now is the time we got to transition into one of my favorite parts of the program, which is the outlet point guard. And we kept it around 3 faces that are all-star starters, right, Chris? So let me just drop it on you right now, and we'll break it down. But I had to start off with my man SGA, staying big inside, getting Rudy Gobert to jump and finishing with the left. This is one of my favorite plays, and what we've seen a lot from him is that pace and spin, man. He loves that spin over both shoulders. It doesn't matter. But then, like we said before, man, 2.2 steals per game, leading the league, and has really just propelled this Oklahoma City Thunder's young club. And then our other guy is Tyrese Halliburton, Chris, the one that got away, right? We didn't pick it. We picked Jalen Smith over him, but he's leading the league in assists with 12.5. His shot is so crazy, but he's still been pretty stellar from outside, 39.7% from the 3-point line. But he finds his guys, man. And he's so scary with the basketball. You can see right there, like, guys got to commit to him, and that's where he's finding all of his other guys. And then, we got to finish out with our hometown guy, KD. Like we've said multiple times already, 45.2% from 3 this year, 4th in the NBA. He's doing it on both sides. He is playing heavy minutes, so sometimes we wonder if he's really putting in the effort. But, he's really been just an absolute key for this Phoenix Suns squad. And we already knew this, but I was in attendance for the Chicago Bulls game to see him hit that shot. Basically, no hit back of the rim, no net. Like, what a stellar finish to come back from 20+ down. I know we're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns in a little bit, but Chris, let's roll it back up to the top. What are you liking out of SGA this year?
Yeah, man, a lot of what you highlighted there, just his ability to get deep inside as a guard is unmatched. I mean, you look at the patience there and the deliberate movements. It's real fundamental basketball, like at the end of the day, finishing smart at the rim. And it's funny, we mentioned Shai Gilgeous a lot tonight and talking about how he's in the running for several of these awards right now in MVP and whatnot. I'm sorry, we were talking about Shai Gilgeous for MVP, but talking about Rudy Gobert for Defensive Player of the Year. So in that clip right there that we just watched, he's going up against the guy who is right now expected to be the runaway for Defensive Player of the Year, gets him off his feet with a pump fake and finishes at the rim. A lot of the guys, I think, could panic in that situation, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, cool as a cucumber, pump fake, even with the guy closing in on him, still finishes strong with the left hand. And like you said, I think with the next clip here, Mike, his ability to use that spin move off of either shoulder, showing a very comfortable handle and ability to use that footwork. Like, there's a lot of guys that travel on plays like that. And I know it's not easy to keep track of the 2-3 steps. Sometimes in the NBA, it feels like 4 or 5 steps that these guys get away with, depending on the play. But again, in a lot of ways, just a super fundamental play, super fundamental player. And there's a lot to like with Shea.
Yeah, man, I was really watching some tape over the past couple of weeks of SGA. His patience, his outside shot, and just his ability to score has been absolutely stellar over the past, I'd say, 3 seasons. I mean, he's continued to expand his game even more. But this little shoulder dip spin, man, has become, I'm telling you, it has become his go-to move. And he finishes a lot with the left, which I respect and am absolutely commendable. Like, it's a commendable feat, man. Like, obviously, NBA players, most of them can all finish with both hands. But guys that are so confident in the ability to finish with that left, no matter what, it is a game changer, man, because I was seeing different plays of him cutting from the baseline, finishing with that left because it was closer to the basket as well. So he's just an awesome player. You know, finally got his opportunity in Oklahoma City and has started to really take this Oklahoma City club, this really young club, to that next level. And they are contenders for sure in the West. That's a damn fact, Chris. But what have you been liking out of Tyrese Halliburton to start this year, man? Are you crying a little bit because he's not on the Suns, man?
It pains me so deeply. And it's funny that we took Jalen Smith over him and now they're teammates. We basically gave up Jalen Smith for nothing, just to get him off the books. But yeah, Halliburton, man, it's again a very fundamental player. Is a lot of fun things that he does out there, and just being a leader. I think more than anything, it's, again, not to keep beating a dead horse, but to imagine what he could do with Devin Booker in this team. And it's one of those things where, it's a domino effect. If we got Halliburton instead, maybe XYZ would have happened. Maybe Matt Ishbia never buys the team. I don't know. It's a lot of what ifs, but I'm happy for him. The Indiana Pacers are back on the map. They're a playoff contender in the East, and honestly, a team that you got to watch out for when Halliburton's healthy. It's just a shame that he's not going to potentially get some of the considerations and hardware that he might deserve just due to his health this season. He's been out of the lineup quite a bit. Another one of those guys.
Oh, that's true, right? I mean, if he was a guy who was going to stick around for the entirety of the year, lead the league in assists, I mean, you would have to consider him for first team All NBA no matter what. I mean, there's guys who put the ball in the basket a little bit more than he does, but he impacts the game more than others, it seems like. I mean, like this play with Miles Turner getting that slip on the screen, it's just as easy as Tyrese Halliburton understanding to create a little bit more opening with that one dribble to the right, and then the nice, no look pass over to him for that easy bucket and finish. But this is a play that we see a lot of NBA players make, right? Little quick crossover, double cross, step back into a three. His shooting motion is so ugly, man. But at the end of the day, it don't matter if it goes in, right? Like what we talk about with Sean Marion for years and years. Towards the end of his career with Steve Nash, he was one of the better three-point shooters in the league. And he had, I think, by far the ugliest shot in the NBA. But this is the best part of Tyrese Halliburton's game. It's his ability to see, his ability to drive, and his ability to create. I mean, you're going to see this in just a second. There are 4 Chicago Bulls who feel like they need to step up on him because he is that much of a threat. And it just ends up to a lob to Jalen Smith. Seen this plenty of time with Obi Toppin, who has had a nice resurgence with Indiana. I don't think he got a fair shake in New York, but I've seen plenty of these lobs, plenty of these same plays, and I ain't mad with Indiana being good in the East, right? It's somebody new. It's a fresh face at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, very, very true. And Mike, you play that clip back against the Bulls one more time, because I'm sorry, watching this, I'm curious, Who is his teammate that grabs 2 fistfuls of Jalen Smith booty on the end of this play?
What are you talking about?
Look, I thought it was Caruso at first, but no, he's just right.
I think that's Halliburton.
Is it?
I'm pretty
He
sure.
throws the lob, then crashes. No, I think you're right. Okay. That's a different way to do a good game for your teammate there. But yeah, no, everything you said about Halliburton, man, that dude is a stud for sure. A little bit of an ugly shot, but I got to respect for ugly shots because, I don't have the prettiest shot. That's for sure.
I wasn't going to say anything, Chris. You said it. I'm glad I didn't say it. But well, and then our man KD, Chris, this is the last one I got, the 3 clip for you. Nice finish over the top. When you're 6'11" and you trust your stroke, no amount of pressure is really going to, put you off from taking your shot. But Chris Paul steps up to contest a little bit. Andrew Wiggins is already there, and he just drains it right in their face. I mean, these are shots that we've seen KD make his entire career, but he's really shooting at an efficient clip from outside this season. That's why I wish he'd shot more. Like, he's got to shoot some more. And I think this has obviously always been the most underrated part of KD's game, as well as his ability to chase down block. I mean, with his length and his speed that he still has for a 35-year-old, I mean, he's been able to do this multiple times, contest at the rim. It's been a breath of fresh air to have a superstar who can really do it on both sides, man. I'm not trying to throw shade at people. I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I'm just saying, like, it really shows. And when KD puts his head down and wants to work on the defensive end, it shows, man. And it's been awesome. But what have you been liking from KD so far to start this season, Chris?
I've loved his availability. The fact that he's able to play in a lot of games. He's only missed a handful, if not, just crazy. It's still like some days it still just doesn't feel real that Kevin Durant is on the Phoenix Suns. I guess you could say I grew up. I was in high school at this point, but Kevin Durant became one of my favorite players on the Thunder. Those were some dog days for the Suns, so it was hard to have a favorite player on the Suns team at that point in time. But everything KD was doing, man, he is just one of the purest shooters, and he's doing it here in Phoenix. Some nights he'll have a down night, he'll miss some shots, but he stays in there and doesn't give up. It's the old adage, or the thing you'll hear from a lot of guys that play basketball, is if you're open, take the shot and believe in your shot. And, they're going to start falling eventually. Everyone has a bad shooting day every once in a while, but his ability to even make those tough shots, man. You saw that 4-point play late in the game in the first clip, and that big 2-pointer from the free throw line against the Chicago Bulls, man. Kevin Durant is the guy that you can rely on, and having him on our team and being available is incredible and a great time to be a Suns fan.
We're living in the moment. People, like, just enjoy the basketball that comes. Obviously, as fans, we get frustrated at points. You guys have watched our recaps. We've been frustrated, right? We understand that. But to have this amount of talent on one floor playing together, it's truly something special. So make sure you're enjoying it. And that's why, man, when the All-Star game comes around, I know it's not the best basketball, but it's some of the best players that you'll be able to see. So make sure you tap in. And that's what I got for Outlet Point Guard, Chris. So how about we roll into Reddit Reacts? What do you got for us this time?
Oh, let's do it. I've got a slew of pictures, even a Michael Benjamin submission. We'll bust that out. But first, since we're talking about the Suns, want to start with a Suns post from the Suns Reddit. We love them. Honestly, I don't want to be critical. I don't want to be rude, but I feel like they're lacking on the memes lately. I'm a big meme guy. So this is kind of, I guess, in that territory. We've seen similar posts before. But, Mike, I have to show you the Bradley Beal apology form. I think we've had one of these for Chris Paul, maybe one of these for Kevin Durant. I'm not sure. But
you know who we had the last one for, Chris?
Who was that? DeAndre Ayton?
It was for DeAndre Ayton, man. Oh, no.
Oh, that's not a good sign. But for those of you that may be just listening on the audio-only platforms, the post says at Bradley Beal apology form. And it's 2, so you can fill it out from and the date. And then your reason for behavior, there's some check boxes here. It was, the media convinced me Reeves was better. I didn't watch actual games. I miss Landry Shamet and CP3. I don't know basketball. Chuck told me the big three didn't fit and I believed it, or I let the r/NBA anti-Suns agenda change my views. And then before you sign it, you have to check the box that says, I will hereby respect Bradley Beal and will not talk down on the future first ballot Hall of Famer. Oh, okay. Maybe we pump the brakes on that one.
That might be a little bit of a stretch, but
Mike, would you fill out the Bradley Beal apology form here?
You know what? I'll fill it out, man. I'll fill it out. I've really liked what Bradley Beal has been able to do. Obviously, to start the season, he wasn't available. He didn't play. He couldn't play. He was hurt. He was struggling with the back in the 3 games that he did before he went out again. You could tell he wasn't the same. And since he's come back, he's done his part to fit within this big 3. He's had some nice explosion games scoring. Obviously, we talk about the 37-point game against the Los Angeles Lakers. I still think there's still parts where he's trying to fill in and fit his form, but I think a character shows more about a guy that I want for the third main guy when it comes to Bradley Beal, right? He fractures his nose and he finishes. Like, he wants to play. He understands that he wants and needs to be out there for his guys, because this thing ain't going to work without him, folks. If you're a Phoenix Suns fan, if Bradley Beal isn't doing his job, it's not going to work. So I will sign the form. I'll click on the r/NBA anti-Suns agenda. How about that?
I like it. That works. I guess, you might not have been influenced by it, but you could probably fall into the camp of those folks. Yeah, I'd probably fill out the form too. And again, probably because I just got so downtrodden about his injuries and everything that went into that. And so that might have to be my choice. Mike, I was seeing if I could pull up here the next one, your submission for this Reddit React. So not necessarily a Reddit React.
Let's go.
Let's see. Okay, I might have to come back to this one real quick. So let me put a pin in that. Sorry for the hype. Let's have another Suns one. We can talk about this one real quick, and I'll try and see if I can find a way to get this other post up. But this one I thought was funny. There's been a lot of news about DeAndre Ayton in the last couple weeks. He couldn't make it to a game. He was out since Christmas. He came back, and after saying he had nothing to prove and was a max player, he put up an absolute goose egg performance. Has had a couple decent ones since then, but I don't know, Mike. It's funny, you see the bus here, and the guy with the great view is the Suns fan, and it says traded Ayton. And then the depressed guy that just has rocks to look at is a Portland Trailblazers fan. It says traded for Ayton. And with the caption of the post, DomiNURKIC. So did you agree with this? Did the Suns win the trade here?
Chris, I feel like this is the same question that people, if you're trying to answer the question if the Suns won the Kevin Durant Mikal Bridges trade, it's too early. It's just, I think it's too early to figure that kind of thing out. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, DeAndre Ayton was a young player, right? He wasn't fitting within the system that he wanted to, and he rubbed too many people the wrong way. Like we've said before, I think Devin Booker was pretty much done with him, which made him a piece that had to leave for this team to move forward. And I really like what Jusuf Nurkic has done to start. I mean, leading the team in rebounds, as long as he can stay healthy once again, which he has, it seemed like, other than the finger or his thumb, I think, the other night. He's had some big scoring nights as well, but he really understands his role and what he has to do. He has to play big. He has to get guys involved. He has to work himself into the game, or else it's just not an option for him, it seems like. And that was what rubbed DeAndre Ayton the wrong way. And like we said on one of our last live streams, like DA can't get out of his own way. There's comments that he doesn't need to make to put more of a spotlight on him when he's just middle of the road with his production, right? Like, so right now I'm standing in the middle of the bus, but if they have, some bars, I'm holding on to them because I'm still swaying both ways, right? I'm sorry to not really answer your question, Chris. Let me tell you another person who's probably like this. It's Nico, because he's a Suns and a Trailblazers fan. So he's going through it on both ends, unfortunately. But that's where I stand with it right now. But I'm very proud of what Yusuf has been able to do for the squad so far.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us expected him to play like a max player. Talking about Yusuf Nurkic, I guess funny enough, it could also work for DeAndre Ayton because no one in Phoenix expected him to play like a max player. But Nurkic, I mean, I think with getting him, it's almost addition by subtraction in a lot of ways, where we just wanted to get rid of DeAndre Ayton and getting a little something in return, a guy at the same position. So you're giving up a center for a center. That kind of helped. Nurkic has been serviceable. Honestly, I can't complain too much. Just can't be trusted in late game situations. And it's something that we're going to have to deal with. And we might have to go small ball and put Kevin Durant at the 5 when it comes down to crunch time. And that seems to be working okay for now. So I'm still on the sunny side of the bus.
The death lineup, what they're calling it, right?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. Obviously, you need somebody like Yusuf Nurkic around for matchups with the bigger guys in the West, like Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic. But yeah, there's going to be times you'll be able to roll out that death lineup, and it's just going to be what you need in the moment. So,
yep. Well, why don't we look at that post about Devin Booker? I wasn't able to find it, but I think you got it here for us, right, Mike?
I got it. Let's do it.
So his shoes are coming out. And the complex post here is asking, is Nike fumbling the D Book 1 launch? They say in their post, we discussed the lukewarm reaction to the Nike Book 1 and what we think is holding the shoe back on the Complex Sneakers Show. And there's a link. So if you want to go check that out after you finish watching Past the Outlet, you can go ahead and do that. But Book also commented there and he said, a lot of people feel the same way. Is that real, Mike? And you also commented, holy shit, Mike, what did you say?
I mean, are we ever going to be able to get a pair? What the hell is going on? So, Chris, I'll give the people some context of what was happening here, right? So, Complex Sneaker Show is done by a couple of guys. It's Brandon Dunn, Joe LaPuma, who does the sneaker shopping. If you've ever seen it on YouTube, where he has a bunch of celebrities come to like a resale shop and they talk about their sneaker history and then they end up buying one. I'll give them another shout out. They had a really awesome one with Devin Booker themselves when they were out in Miami, and they had like a real cool display of the Book 1s. And he talked about, his love for sneakers, his love for shoes, what happened with the, creation of the Book 1 and what the plans were moving forward and that kind of stuff. But then the other guy, Matt Welty, was the one who really started to talk about how he feels like Nike is fumbling this launch. The press just hasn't been there. The one thing that I think about is within the time frame that we got leaks and we were thinking that it sounded like Nike was going to make Devin Booker a signature athlete and he was going to get his own shoe. Jason Tatum has got his first shoe. It came out and they've already announced the second one. Now, granted, that is Jordan brand, but everything's under Nike. So it's like we still haven't got an official announcement. Nike is still holding on to this, and there still hasn't been any kind of official release date. Devin Booker said this. They ended up kind of going back and forth a little bit. It was all in good fun, it seemed like. And Devin Booker himself said February 17th is supposed to be the first date where the first shoes come out, right? But for them to have the initial launch of these shoes in the orange colorway, only drop in Miami for only 500 pairs. What the hell is that about? How is the Phoenix market not being the first one that is tapped in for a Devin Booker signature line dropping? I mean, when has a Phoenix Suns player that is actually, Kevin Durant, yeah, he has his own shoe, but this is our guy. This is our Mount Rushmore guy, Chris. And for them to be like, yeah, we're going to drop 500 pairs at some little shop in Miami. I think that's where a lot of people have started to not be worried, but just be frustrated about what's happened with the start of this, because we've been chomping at the bit for a signature athlete. And now I think I saw some mock-ups today of the first one that's going to come out, and it's some Oral Wood Brown weird ass colorway. All of these cool ones that he's been wearing on court, I would not be surprised if none of them ever get released, and they're all going to be just some random things. And that's where we're at with this right now, Chris. A lot of people are just disappointed with how this has started. And we still don't know officially from Nike when the hell we can buy these shoes.
That just blows my mind. Like all of that, Mike. Like I didn't hear about that. Only 500 pairs of this orange colorway dropped in Miami. What the fuck? What the fuck is that? I mean, you and I would be some of the first people in line, probably alongside thousands of other Suns fans and Devin Booker fans in Arizona alone. I just don't understand. Does Nike not want to make money? Do they just, what are they like, selling these shoes and also buying them up and then reselling them on the resale market to create that scarcity? It doesn't make sense, because I'm not a crazy savvy business guy. I wouldn't brand myself as, but I think if you make more and sell more, you would make more money than selling a few for a high markup. I mean, these shoes, signature shoes, run upwards, 160 or more, depending on who it is and when they drop. So it's not like people aren't going to shell out for these book ones. It just blows my mind, man. I can't believe that.
And it sounds like they're not going to be on the complete high end of the Nike line, which are LeBron James is the top. It's like $200. KDs are close second, I think, with 180. And then you have the lower level with Jaws. Those are about 120. These are supposedly going to be about 150. So they're right in the middle, right? At the end of the day, Nike is the biggest shoe brand in North America, right? I don't think it's the world. That there could be, Adidas could swing that, or New Balance. New Balance continues to grow up, but that's made in the USA. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they've been around the block. They know what they're doing at the end of the day, but it's just been odd. And it's more so like people just want them, man. Like, it's different for us in the Valley, right? It's different for us than people who might just be sneakerheads or like to collect basketball shoes and want to try out the new thing, whatever, right? We have a connection with Devin Booker. He is our guy. Once we found out that he was going to have a shoe, like, as soon as I knew about some kind of calendar dates, I'm putting it on my thing and having freaking alarms blaring, or if I need to go stand in line or that kind of stuff. Like, that's our investment with this. So that's why a lot more people on our end have been more frustrated than ever. So that's why it is kind of surprising when these guys that are kind of on the national stage when it comes to sneakers are talking about how lukewarm it's been. So there must not be something that's really gone right at the end of the day. But it sounds like we're getting close. So I guess we just have to stop crying about it for right now.
Yeah, and we'll see. That, I mean, they could just ramp it up real fast, and they could do a huge launch, and it's a success, and we get all the color waves we want, and it's really cool. But so far, I'm not impressed. Mike, why don't we just keep it pushing, though? I got a few more here for our Reddit reacts, so we can go out on a light note and not be all sad about not having our D-book ones yet. I got 3 left. Let me choose 2, and I'm gonna go with this one because we heard that the pool for the Team USA basketball team for the Summer Olympics was announced, and we got some familiar faces, a lot of people we expected. I know Draymond Green felt some kind of way of being snubbed, but it had this interesting debate be sparked of, if you could choose, I'd say maybe between the 2 teams, maybe just between the 2 starting 5s, who would you have between what could be our present day team versus the dream team? You got there for the dream team, of course, Magic, Pippen, Jordan, Bird, and Barkley. And then up top for the present day, you have Durant, Curry, LeBron, Tatum, and Embiid, who, interesting. I think, was he born here? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He plays for Team USA. But yeah, that's tough, man. Who would you take in this head-to-head?
Oh, see, these are always the good conversations to have that you could probably spend an entire podcast on, Chris, right? Because you have to think about matching up, right? Who's going to guard who? I mean, who's going to guard Embiid from that side? Who's going to guard Kevin Durant? Is Scottie Pippen going to stay on KD? Well, then what does that leave? Charles Barkley going up against Joel Embiid? I mean, Charles Barkley is already only 6'7". Are you going to be able to keep up with the speed if you have Jason Tatum, or if you have Larry Bird matched up with Jason Tatum? Like, and then LeBron, Michael, like, these are great conversations to have. And it's so impossible to really pinpoint who would beat who. But I think I'm going with the dream team, man. It's nostalgia, it's the old school, and that was a unit that was just incredible together. But at the same time, like you said, it's so hard because now in the Olympics, you're playing against the actual best players in the world. Like back in the day, they weren't allowing professional athletes until the dream team, right? So it's a mixed bag. I'll go with the dream team. I'm not very confident in that pick though, Chris.
And that's what's so fun, right? Is because we'll never know. I mean, we'll never be able to pit these teams against each other in their prime. I mean, I'm sure people have done their simulations, their 2K games or whatnot. You make some compelling arguments, though, which kind of started to sway me towards the dream team. I mean, at face value, I just see a major height differential and level of athleticism when you talk about LeBron James and freaking Joel Embiid, what those guys can do physically. I mean, Joel Embiid's a 7-footer. Kevin Durant's basically a 7-footer. And I think the tallest guy on this dream team is what? Scottie Pippen is 6'8" or something like that. Maybe not. I don't know. But regardless, I do think that the dream team would play better. I think they would play together better than the modern day team would. Because when you look at the 5 guys up top, they're all the main guy on their team that's scoring all the points traditionally. And some criticisms of defenses. But I don't know. It's tough because the modern game is so much different in a lot of ways and you could argue that both ways, for better or worse. But Mike, since you took the dream team, I'm going to take the present day guys. I think they might squeak out that win just strictly off height advantage.
There you go. We covered the bases. I like it. Good work, Chris.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So let's do one last one. I got a couple options here. Let me just go with the local story here. I guess I did say we wanted to go out on a high note, but both of these are somewhat negative. So I just think when we're talking about the book ones and the releases, and we talked earlier about Devin Booker being a long shot for the MVP, but has had some pretty impressive performances, a pretty impressive player, but still seeming to not get that much respect nationally. It's kind of crazy. I mean, you're looking at this post here, and it shows that Devin Booker's played 31 games. Ja Morant's only played 9 games. Now he's done for the season with an injury. But Ja Morant got more votes for the All-Star game than Devin Booker did. Mike, what's going on here?
I think the biggest issue when it comes to Book, Chris, is he's more of a polarizing figure that can stretch to a negative way from like the way that he talks to officials or the way that he interacts with some players. It rubs people the wrong way, right? And people, when they see Ja Morant, like, yeah, he did the wrong things off the court, but they see his exuberation and it's just always like lively and everything is bouncy. Like everything is upbeat consistently with Ja Morant, crazy hops, that kind of stuff, which tends to lead towards the people who are just casual NBA fans. They are attracted to that, right? Like when you think about Devin Booker, you talk about lethal form when it comes to shooting, creating space, mid-range, just absolute assassin. Like sometimes his game isn't as pretty as others. Or I won't say as pretty because, man, some of his moves are pretty damn pretty, like his turnarounds and that kind of stuff, like the way he shoots the basketball. But that's for purists, right? Like some people just like the high flying. And that's not always been Devin Booker. It's not really been his game anywhere in his career. And so that's why it kind of tends to go this way, right? Once somebody has a name brand attached to them as a high flyer or that kind of thing, they become to be fan favorites like that. One guy I'll say, Chris, that reminds me of that. Vince Carter. Like Vince Carter wasn't a pure player. Like there were some seasons where he did expand his game on the outside, could shoot a little but better. But, the way that Devin Booker expands, he's the starting damn point guard for the second or third time in his career, on a better team this time. Like it's just different. And it's crazy that you bring this up too, because I was seeing top jersey sales, like the most recent updates. Devin Booker is in the top 10. He's above Kevin Durant. He's listed 7 right now. Yeah. So for him to not get fan votes to get close, like at one point he wasn't even in top 10 in guards in the West. That's wild to me.
Yeah, it's confusing, but you bring up a lot of good points as far as the reasoning goes when you look at it objectively. John Morant's finding himself in the top 10 in the highlight videos way more than Devin Booker is because his performances are impressive. The numbers he puts up are, but there isn't necessarily always that play where it's a Devin Booker highlight. And if it is, it's usually away from the basket off of a shot. And people like the dunks, people like the high flying action. And it's funny because I'm sure it's cherry picked, but even in this graphic, you see Devin Booker kind of intense in the moment and John Morant just chilling, having fun with a grin on his face. And obviously, they superimpose those sunglasses on him. But I get it. I get it. It's part of the reason why John Morant got his signature shoe before Devin Booker, despite Devin Booker having been in the league longer and getting better year after year. It's all about marketability and exposure. And for better or worse, a lot more recently for worse, John Morant's gotten a lot more attention in the media and in the public eye. Whereas Devin Booker, yeah, you can hate on him for his on the court antics and the way he complains and talks to refs and other players, but off the court, we've said it. I mean, he's a real, low key guy. It seems like he just kind of does him, doesn't ever get caught in any controversies, dated a Kardashian Jenner and came out of that pretty much unscathed as well with no, oh, we saw them doing this or getting sloppy here. It's always professionalism from Devin Booker. And I think that's what we appreciate here locally. And probably what's reflecting in those jersey sales, to be honest, is people in the Arizona market buying those jerseys where all the, I think you call them the casuals who are going to go out and vote for John Morant. They like him enough to go vote for him during an all-star appearance, but they're not going to go buy a John Morant jersey.
Book is low key, man. He's just wearing his Chucks, chilling with his dog, sprucing up his classic cars, and keeping to himself, man. We love him. He'll get there. He'll get the credit one of these days. Damn it, I know it. But Chris, another fun one, man. Pass the Outlet. Glad we brought it back this month. Definitely going to have another one in February, man. Got March Madness right around the corner. Obviously, the trade deadline is just days away at this point. We'll see if the Phoenix Suns make any moves. But before we call it a night, you got anything else to share with the people?
Man, we've covered it all, but there's so much more to come. Like you said, March Madness, the NBA season in full swing in the second half, leading up to the playoffs. Definitely agree. We're going to have to do some more Pass the Outlets. This is primetime basketball season. And guys, like Mike said earlier, make sure you enter into our ticket giveaway so you can go see the Suns and Lakers with a friend, family member, girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, whatever. Make sure you enter. And then also check out the NBA All-Star Weekend, man. It's a lot of fun. Not just the game itself. Honestly, sometimes the other stuff is more fun than the actual game. So you got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday festivities. And I'm sure we'll talk about it soon.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'd say that the celebrity game is slept on sometimes. There's been some good celebrities out there who can really hoop. So make sure you guys are tapping in. But appreciate you all, y'all. Like we always say, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us at AZ_VSP on all socials. If you're just joining us, you made it all the way through the end, or you're listening on playback, man, we love y'all. But this was Pass the Outlet, episode 16. I'm Michael Benjamin. That's Chris Patrick. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ball is life, plain and simple. Ask any baller. If you know, you know.
The game has changed, but it's still the same. You want it, go get it.
Shazam!
The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. The shot on Elo. Ah! The Bulls win! They win it!
Mike, you're honestly telling me that he's top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 of all time.
No question about it.
Booker, this is for the win. Got it. Wow.
Yo.
The ruling on the floor is made basket.
One thing's for sure. Over at Valley Sports Plug, you're never going to catch us slipping.
With the first overall pick, the Phoenix Suns select
3, 2,